Hi guys, and welcome back to another World's Best Gardens. This week we're looking at Ginkakuji Garden, which is in Kyoto. So we got a taxi ride there. It didn't take too long from our hotel, and when we arrived there, there's a slight walk to the main entrance gate, and it was actually 1482. This was a retirement villa for a guy called Yoshimasa, who designed it on his grandfather's golden pavilion. And of course, this one is called the Silver Pavilion. And in 1994, it was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So the other people involved was a guy called Zanami and his children, who also helped with the landscape design. Interesting features as you go along, like this nice bamboo fence. It's located on the sort of just at the bottom of a hill. And the first thing you're greeted with is this raked sand, and sort of slightly different to the normal raked sand that we saw at Ryan-ji. This one is sort of more raised up in beds, and then there's some interesting mound like this one here over to the right. So the pavilions there, as you can sort of see, the idea was that they were going to be the silver pavilions, but they never actually got around to cover them in silver, because in that sort of time, in that sort of 1400s, there was a particularly bad war, and I think after it there wasn't probably enough money to do that. And since then they've sort of left it as it is, as this has been more the natural creation, and it looks pretty good. I mean, we enjoyed walking around this garden. It's a very serene garden, so that's your sort of almost your Zen garden on the side, and this is your strolling pond garden that is quite large and got interesting little features like this little stone bridge. Can't walk on those stone bridges, they sort of like a little bit sort of fenced off, but you can walk around the main pond itself. So the day we went was earlier in the morning, which is a good time to visit these gardens so you don't get as many visitors. And it was in the sort of late summer, so it was quite hot and a little bit humid, and the garden came to life with a little bit of the sound of the water. It was quite welcome to hear that sound, especially when it's quite a hot day. Of course, these gardens, a lot of them are in filtered light, so there's a relative amount of humidity and filtered light that will help the moss grow. It's a similar probably environment to say what ferns would grow in. If it was harsh sun, then a lot of this moss would just dry up. So they are particularly well suited, these plants, to growing in this type of garden, all this sort of moss growing over these rocks. And of course, a popular feature with a lot of these gardens is the paths are gravel, so there's a bit of a crunching noise as you walk through the garden. But the ponds themselves are really nice, in irregular shapes, and the whole idea is that you walk around the pond, and I guess you can sort of, just finding yourself in thought and meditation, and looking at the various islands and rocks in the middle. Now this part here, you're sort of starting to walk up the hill, and there's quite nice sort of stone steps that take you up, gently taking you up. So there's lots of plants. Predominant tree, I think, was maple. This is the maple there. That seems to be a predominant one that just lets this filtered light through to the gardens. It's just taking a quick closer look at the way they'd sort of tied these bamboo rails up. So after his death, Yoshimasa's death, he then this was then converted into a Buddhist temple, and it was renamed as a Jishoshi. I think that's how you pronounce it. But there was a reasonable amount of insect life there. You can see this dragonfly, which just took our interest for a bit as we were walking up the hill. And it's sheltered as well, so there's not a lot of wind that sort of comes through this because of the bamboo forests that kind of surround it on one side, giving it quite a reasonable amount of privacy. See, like a twisting path that sort of makes you want to sort of walk, and it's not a straight path up, it's a curving path that sort of twists around, and it's sort of interesting as you sort of go up the path, and then finally as you reach the top, you get to see an open view of the buildings below and the city. So the gardens obviously have been fairly matured and probably have gone over some renovations over the years, since 1482 till now. And the maintenance obviously is a fairly big thing for these gardens. They look very natural, and but to keep them that way, there's a lot of maintenance that goes into that. So a lot of raking of the leaves. That gravel obviously would be one of the things that they'd need to keep free of leaves. Little streams that are running throughout the garden as well, just help to create that interest, and the water obviously cools things down, and being under these trees is cooler than being in the open sun. Okay guys, we're coming to the end of the video now, and we're just sort of walking back out towards the exit, and I'll leave you with a few photos that we took, and definitely worth a visit the Silver Pavilion if you are in Kyoto or Japan. Okay guys, we'll leave it there, and we'll see you in the next video.